Well, I'm sitting here. I've got two decisions here, or really two things. I'm sitting. I got about quarter tank, $50 to my name, and I got to move my RV today from the RV park. My time's up here, so I'm looking at an empty tank and barely any gas. So I'm about to hitch up. And the biggest decision is the direction I need to go because I'm heading west. That's a fact, and I'm still going. But amidst all this, I went to the gym this morning. Probably when I should be panicking because I got $50 to my name, and I got to find somewhere to go. And it decided to start sprinkling and raining this morning. It's cold. It's wet. I got my electric heater going right now while I can. So there's that. And then, I had to throw all my food out yesterday because I had thousands upon thousands of ants here. So, it's not always about the limelight and the glory and everything, I wish it was all rainbows and sunshine, but this is the reality I'm living in. And, if you don't know, I'm Will Finch, and I'm the host here on the Rustic Compass. And we got a deep dive into some things today. The universe really feels like it's beating me down. I'm really at my zero level at the moment. But you got to keep going forward. I don't really have a plan, where I'm going exactly. I just know I'm going west. But to be able to plan where I'm going, I got my Tacoma towing a travel trailer, so $50 isn't going to go very far by no means. So I got to strategically plan these things, and it's really stressful. And I'm also trying to, run the podcast, my YouTube channel, my e-commerce, and getting all these things going. But I'm at that point where everything's getting turned off due to non-payment. So it's just one of those things, man. Like, the world's crashing down around me, but the one thing I could control today, and I think is probably the most important thing I've done today, or can do today at all, and that was to go to the gym. I get so much clarity, and it's not even about going to get buff or working out or whatever the case. It's go to take back control of your life. Yeah, we can't control everything. The bills they're getting turned off because I just ain't been able to find work along the way because my social medias have been blackballed or something. I don't know. I'm getting a lot of bots, a lot of fake accounts, and just a lot of people just seem like they're testing me rather than anything else. Low ball offers and stuff like that. It's just like, man, this really more insulting. So, but that's kind of the realm I'm in today as I try to record my podcast. So just bear with me. Got a lot of things going on. So back to the gym. I go and I took back my morning. I took back everything that it seems like is crashing down around me. It wasn't about lifting barbells or dumbbells or whatever the case it was. I did chest today, so chest and arms. So, but it was more about gaining back control of my life, in those tough times. Because a normal person, I think, and I'm not saying I'm any different than anyone, I just had to learn these things over the years that, not to freak out in these harsh times. You got to stay calm. Things will happen. You got to have faith, and you got to just keep working towards your goals regardless. There's a lot of outside sources that a lot of people rely on these days, and a lot of it is internal will and brute force perseverance type stuff, that you gotta basically take control over. I had a backup plan. I do get paid on the first, um, but it's so stressful because I had all my food. So I was like, okay. I'm at least gonna be okay. I find a parking lot to sleep in tonight. Um, but yesterday I got bombarded with ants. So instead of doing some things I needed to do yesterday, I was fighting the ant war, trying to dispose of tens of thousands of ants. This place was just crazy. So I got into my food. I had to throw all that away. It's just is kind of devastating. Really, that definitely took a toll on me. Um, so I'm out here by myself. Just making things happen as best as I can. But it just seems like everything is just working against me at the moment. You know, Last week I was down in Florida, and I started moving back this way because even down there things just seemed like just wasn't working. And it wasn't in the lack of me trying. Sure, I could have probably tried a little bit harder, but it seemed like everything was being set up against me, and so a lot of abrasive things going on. So it's just like, man. So you got to move on sometimes, recapture the picture, get a clear picture of everything, and just kind of just keep moving on. I'd really like to say it was easy, but at the same time, I got to balance tonight where I'm staying, how much gas I put in the truck, and if I'm going to get a little meal or not. So go to Walmart and get one of their little salads or something. A couple dollars. Um, while trying to maintain not necessarily my lifestyle, but trying to move forward on my goals and my business ventures. I've been trying to look for DJ gigs and a lot of photography gigs, and they keep falling through. Just getting bombarded with bots and fake profiles, and social media nowadays is just a bunch of fake things. But this is very real. You just gotta stay positive because this morning I woke up cold. I had my heater on, my electric heater on. I knew today was going to be moving day, so could have stayed in my comfort zone and stayed in the blankets, stay warm for as long as I could. But I chose to get up and get off this couch, and go to the gym. Uh, I think that was a really powerful thing to do this morning, and probably the best thing I could have done instead of just packing up, which I'm fixing to have to do after this. But it's just one of those things, man. It's like, I know some of y'all feel this way, when you just get beat down by life and you're just beat and beat and beat. But you find some kind of way to stay positive in it. And one way that's always helped me is going to work out. Like I said, it wasn't always about how much weight I can lift or how strong I can get, or how good looking or fit I can get, right? um, it was more about the mental clarity to kind of take back that discipline, um, and control over the things that are super crucial to my own well-being. And I think finding those things and taking care of your spiritual and mental well-being, along with physical and your finances and all this other stuff, um, I think those internal things, you got to have a really sound uh, foundation for that, because literally everything else is external. I know it may not seem it, but everything is external and can be taken from you. Even your money, taxes, payments, bills, emergency fund, whatever the case is. It can all be taken. So it doesn't matter how many times you plan and prep and all this other stuff. At some point, it can all be uprooted. But what keeps you grounded is that spiritual connection and your well-being and your mindset of being able to try to figure that out. Um, and I'd seriously suggest, taking a little bit of time each day to yourself. Don't know how busy you guys are. I try to stay relatively productive and busy. But you have to go out and take those times to do something fun. You get too hyper focused on your goals and your ambitions and all that stuff. It takes away from everything else. You have to be able to balance that out. And it's funny because I'm a Libra, so you would think naturally that would be something that I would be able to do, but it's not. And it takes work. Just just some of those things, like I know I'm not the only one feeling like super overwhelmed, like the world's just caving around me, Um, and there's not too many people I can go to that I would even look to for help. So, that adds to the stress. And, there's people out there that'll help me, absolutely. And I refuse to go stand on a corner, that's for sure. Because I can put it all together. And nothing against those that go stand on the corner. I don't want to say anything bad about that. But, you know, you just got to go get it sometimes, man. And I'm at that point right now in this journey where I have no clue how I'm going to do it, especially because most of my stuff is social media led. And that's how I reach out to people and get gigs and all this other stuff. But it's being bombarded, by someone sending a bunch of bots and all kinds of crazy stuff. I know a lot of you guys too are dealing with this kind of stuff. But you just gotta get creative with it. Go out there and find something. My biggest hurdle right now is my truck's attached to my travel trailer. Not right this second, but it will be here shortly. And I just can't go do a photo shoot or a DJ gig with my travel trailer attached to it. So, and I can't drop it because then somebody else could steal it or get towed or impounded or whatever the case. There's a lot of factors. Um, so I'm kind of limited to what I can do, especially once I leave this place. Um, there's not really many other options. I could rest stops or Cracker Barrels, maybe some Walmarts, depending on, and some other places. But trying to find the funding for this is just so stressful, and it's even more stressful because didn't have the food. I got a few little snacks here and there, but that were not compromised. But I pretty much had to throw everything out, and that was like, kind of like almost the final like universal like, no, you can't do this, Will. But you know what? Deep down inside, I know I can, um, and that's what I set out to do. No matter how many obstacles get put my way and how frustrating it can be, um, that stubbornness that I've always been called. This is where it makes sense. I'm going to push to my dreams to set out to do what I want to do and live the way I want to do, and that's gonna happen. It doesn't matter how many hurdles I have to jump over or how many walls I got to go around or through or over. Uh, it's just gonna happen. It, you know, I've had to rebuild several times before, from sometimes even a worse scenario, but after building all my spiritual self and my mindset and everything, and it just get back to this point, it takes a toll on you. And you know you got to look to those positive aspects and coping mechanisms that could be anything really. Go on a hike. You know Last night I went and took some photography photos of the surrounding area. When you would think I should be planning or something, or finishing touches on packing up and everything. But here I am, just kind of winging it at the moment. But and yeah, it's scary, and it could be very extremely stressful. But it's really how you look at it, man, and your mindset to go get it. You know, and those are things that you just got to develop. Uh, and it takes time and it takes practice. And unfortunately, I'm in that position where if not me, then who's going to do it? So I have to go do these things. So it's I can't sit here and constantly worry about these things. As much as I'd like not to, I still do worry about them. So, but you just got to find that inner strength, man, because nobody's coming to save you. Um, and it doesn't matter how many times I've had to get through all these crappy situations I've been in. I've been plagued by bots and hackers, whatever AI, whatever it is. I don't know at this point, but it's like someone's trying to manipulate a situation or guide me. It could be both. Technically, it is both. Uh, but is your outlook on it, and that could be multitude of different things. But I do know a path that I'm traveling. I may not know exactly how I'm getting there, by no means, or how I'm funding it or doing it, or even I just got this grand idea in my head. And as an artist and entrepreneur and just a creative person, uh, the chaos may look all crazy and chaotic to the outside world, but to me, it's like every little bit of piece or every puzzle piece to me is being put in place at at certain times, and it makes sense in my head, but it's making it come to fruition in reality. And that time's coming. We're just at a really difficult time at the moment. So, maybe I'll find a gig or something that I can find on Facebook or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out. If not, we'll just keep winging it, I suppose. But, you know, I, man, going back to the gym, I was trying to get in there. I was trying to get a good workout in, and I was trying not to get angry because, once you get angry, things just go downhill from there. And as much as I feel like things are working against me. Maybe someone's just trying to throw me off, or someone's trying to make me angry. And I'm not going to let them win, by no means. It's just not going to happen. Sure, you may tick me off, but I'm going to regain that control because I can control my mind again, and take myself out of those manipulative states that are easily manipulated. So when someone makes you angry, you can become easily manipulated. For those of you that don't know. But and then they control the narratives and all these things, and it we could deep dive into that, but that we're gonna leave that one for another episode. But um, yeah, I just kind of want to give you guys an update on that. I absolutely want to get this up. I got to get this edited today, and find some internet because my Starlink didn't get paid this month. Because I've been traveling a lot with a lot of crazy things happening that I I didn't see coming. So that's one thing. So I might go sit at a Starbucks with my laptop and edit and upload some stuff. If I can find a big enough parking lot somewhere at least relatively close. Um, but man, this is a tough one, guys. This is a tough one. But you just gotta keep your head up and keep moving forward. And things have to work out at some point. You just got to stay strong during them. Go out, take a hike. Go to the gym. If you can't afford a gym membership, well, they usually give a day pass. So you could probably just go get a day pass, or even try a day trial or a 3-day trial. A lot of places do those things. Um, I fortunately was able to maintain my gym membership this month because it was one of the first things that I paid. But some of the later stuff, they keep piling up and all that stuff. But we're gonna get it going. I'm positive I'll get it turned around. Do I know how? No, not even a clue. But I'm confident in all my abilities, and it's just one of those things. I got plenty of skills. There's really no reason that I can't be doing something, So it just seems like everything at the moment is working against me. But maybe that's happening for a reason. You can't ever rule that out either. Um, it could be happening for a reason to maybe open some doors for some bigger and brighter things. I had I reached out to this company to do this photography thing, and sure, I'm in a position right now where the money would have been absolutely okay, and I would have been not as stressed at the moment. But it was you have to have that self love type thing and understand your value that you bring to the table. And that's something I've always struggled with because I've always been in that financial situation where, well, I needed the dollar when I could have just passed on the dollar and um, worked on something different that would have been so much better. Those are learning things I've had to learn through a lot of life processes and just trials and tribulations. But I got through them all, and I'm learning these things. And you know, turns out that what they were trying to offer, and I'm not gonna say who it is or nothing, but was pennies on the dollar. Especially, it was even low for market, like the low market price. They wanted like 50 cents a photo for a bulk, like a large bulk of. It was like 1,500, 1,600 photos. In reality, that would have been at least, you know, probably $2,000. But they wanted at best 800. And could I have taken it? Yeah, but it's figuring out and learning your value and realizing some of those offers are actually more inclined to be more slaps in the face rather than just giving you some money for or someone trying to get something for low, like a low ball price. Uh, and some of these companies, just that way. When you're working with corporate offices and stuff like that, it's really cutthroat up there. So, um, I took it as maybe this is a guidance that someone's bestowing on me that not everything that looks good, or I mean, it could be sugar coated turd. You gotta read those fine prints, guys. Uh, take that extra time. Don't You got to get over that. Basically, you got to have emotional control, and that's something I've had to develop over the years because I'm an emotional being for a dude. So I get excited and happy like a kid does when things come and go. Uh, I've still been able to keep and harness my inner child still, but it's really hard times right now. But you gotta stay strong at it, and if you're not strong, just keep pursuing it because you will get strong. Um, Consistency, man. It's definitely taking a toll. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Um, and it's not because of the physical aspect of things, like working out. Man, I'm mentally drained. You gotta. That's one thing. Also, you gotta put yourself around people. Since I'm just thinking about that. Being mentally drained. Like where. Well, this also goes back to how I got $50. How do I need to use it? Like I'm limited on. We're all limited on mental capacity and mental fatigue. We got to pick and choose where we invest that um, that energy at and make the best use of it. And that's kind of where I'm at with what's going to be best for that $50. Like do I buy a little bit of food and go as far as I can until maybe it holds me over for a day or two. who knows, man? It's just one of those things. You just gotta figure it out. And not everybody you're and to go back on the mental part of it, being mentally drained, man, some people are just mentally draining and you may not even realize it. Um, you have to reevaluate your the people around you, and if they're not adding to positively, if you don't feel revitalized around them, man, they're probably draining you, or maybe possibly even using you. And sometimes it may not even be their own intentional doing. It's just they're dealing with the old traumas and stuff of their past and their generational traumas and stuff. But some people just aren't good for you, and you got to be willing to let those people go and continue to pursue, I guess the fancy word, your tribe nowadays. But it's just one of those things, but you just got to do it. You got to figure it out. um, I've had to figure out, like, sometimes I exert more energy on trying to think about the problems when I could just exert that energy into the positive aspect of it and not worry about the problem, but actually just fix the problem. It's that mental shift. It's very subtle sometimes, but those little nuances, to be able to figure those out and to become conscious of them, man, it's an astronomical difference of your energy exertion. Um, I personally try my darndest to be the most efficient I can, because we all run on limited power. I don't necessarily have as much food as I'd like right now. So my energy levels are going to be low. I'm going to be tolerable. Like, a lot of things factor into that. So I have to manage I put and exert those energies to, like mindless trolling on Facebook or TikTok, because I do like the videos, and I like talking to all you guys. But um, sometimes you got to break those habits and exert your energy, or even rest. Resting is a huge part of that. Um, you know, Instead of mindlessly trolling and you know fatiguing your eyes and your brain and all this other stuff, sometimes just sitting there and resting, you know, it does help. Or some meditation works. I'm pretty decent at meditating. I use that tactic sometimes, but a lot of times, just controlling your breathing, which at the gym also is one of those tests. I'm in there working out, getting it's all hot and heavy, but I've learned if you can control your breathing, man, you can control pretty much everything in life, man. And it's not about being in control, but it's about managing that when you are in those situations. So, you know, I'm going to leave you guys with that to ponder on all week. And I'm going to go get hooked up and packed up, and we're going to hit the road. So, thanks for talking with me, listening to me, and watching. So, hopefully, we can let you guys know where I'm going with this, and I'll see you guys next time. Hopefully, I make it.